Keanu Reeves has always been considered one of the most mysterious and at the same time incredibly kind figures in Hollywood. His extraordinary ability to find a common language with a wide variety of people and in the most unimaginable situations has long been the talk of the town. Film critics like to note that behind the actor's external restraint lies a huge depth of feelings that he rarely demonstrates publicly, and numerous fans around the world adore this combination of sincere simplicity and mysterious aura in him. Over the years of his career, Keanu has given many interviews, participated in countless fan meetings, press conferences, and charity events. It seemed that he had already gotten used to all the standard and even the most daring questions that a journalist or fan can ask. But sometimes life presents surprises where you least expect them. This is exactly what happened when he heard an unexpectedly strange question from a child, the answer to which later literally blew up social networks and news portals, forcing everyone to once again talk with admiration about Keanu's unusual worldview. That day, there was a family film festival where Keanu was invited as an honorary guest and potential producer of a promising animation project. The organizers wanted to attract the attention of not only adult film fans, but also young viewers, because the festival was positioned as a family one. The program included screenings of children's short films, master classes where they explained the basics of animation, and a small open mic for children, who were given a rare opportunity to ask a few questions to real stars. Keanu was won over by the idea of a kind, positive atmosphere, as well as the opportunity to support the creative endeavors of the younger generation. He agreed to come for a short time. According to his schedule, he had a tight schedule, but he could devote a couple of hours to the festival and chat a little with the audience. The event was held in a cozy city cultural center, covered with colorful cartoon posters and decorated with balloons. Children with face paint on their faces, painted in the style of various fairy tale characters, were running around everywhere, and adults tried to nestle in the hall to watch the animators' performances. Keanu arrived quietly, without unnecessary pomp, practically alone. Of course, as soon as someone in the audience recognized him, the hall filled with excited whispers, and those who came for just a family holiday watched in amazement as the Hollywood legend moved between the rows, smiling and nodding to people, especially children. The organizers, following the format, announced a short interactive meeting with a celebrity guest, during which any child could ask a question about cinema, life, or something completely made up. Keanu, as if anticipating that it would be fun, readily went on stage and helped the host arrange several chairs in such a way that it would be convenient to address all the spectators. At the same time, the hall looked heated with impatience, because it is not every day that a world celebrity appears in such an environment. The children called him Neo or John Wick, and he, smiling, greeted them, trying to say a few kind words to each. Someone managed to shout out, "Do you fight in life like in the movies?" But the actor just waved it off, not letting the conversation about action drag on too long. After all, the festival is dedicated to family films, not action films. Finally, the host announced, "We have a couple of minutes for kids' questions. If anyone wants to ask Mr. Reeves anything, come up to the microphone." Some of the guests clapped happily, and the children began to exchange glances. 3 or 4 little ones, overcoming their nervousness, raised their hands, hoping that the host would choose them. The first to approach was a girl of about 7, dressed as a fairy with glitter on her face. She asked if Keanu liked ice cream and what animal movies he watched as a child. He answered something funny, causing the audience to laugh. Then an older boy asked if it was true that the actor knew how to handle a samurai sword, to which Keanu, to the delight of the audience, told a short story about training for the role and how he once almost cut himself during a rehearsal. Everything took place in a friendly, almost homely atmosphere. No uncomfortable topics, no harsh comments. Indeed, who could have imagined that tension would arise among children? But then a boy approached the microphone, who, according to eyewitnesses, looked about 9 years old, serious, with slightly disheveled hair, wearing a t-shirt with dinosaurs. He looked around shyly, as if he was thinking about changing his mind, but the host encouraged him. "Don't be afraid, ask whatever you wanted." Keanu looked at the boy with the same friendly attention as he did at the others. He smiled, nodded as if to say, "I'm listening carefully." A short silence fell in the hall. And then the boy said something strange. "Mr. Reeves, have you ever met ghosts, and is it true that people stay with us after death?" At first, no one knew how to react. Could this question be called inappropriate for a child audience? On the one hand, the topic of death and ghosts sounded gloomy. On the other hand, children often ask such mystical questions, especially if they are confused, scared, or simply fantasize about the supernatural. One of the adults twitched, as if trying to interrupt the boy, but it was too late. The words sounded clearly. The boy held the microphone and looked at Keanu point blank. Apparently, the child was really worried. He spoke quietly but persistently, like a person who had been looking for an answer for a long time. The hall froze, realizing that the question fell out of the general humorous and entertaining framework. Such topics are usually avoided, especially at children's events. The host exchanged confused glances with one of the organizers, apparently thinking about how to tactfully switch attention to something else. But Keanu did not change the topic. Instead, he looked down, for a moment as if thinking about something of his own, and then quietly answered, addressing directly to the boy. "It's hard to say for sure, but I think love and memory continue to live even when a person leaves. And perhaps this is our way of feeling those who have left next to us. Sometimes we feel like they are ghosts, or maybe they are just a part of us that doesn't want to part with the people we love." The audience listened with bated breath. Some of the adults wondered if they should continue this topic, if it would become too difficult. But the boy suddenly added, "Have you seen anyone if someone died?" He stuttered, but there was a longing in his eyes, as if he himself had lost someone. This short moment touched the hearts of many present. Keanu, who had experienced many losses in his life, although he rarely spoke about them, was exactly the kind of person to whom such a question could be addressed. He took a deep breath and answered, "Sometimes I feel like the people I loved have not disappeared without a trace. It's not that I see them the way we see each other, but there are moments when I clearly understand that they are still here, in my heart, in my memories, and that gives me the strength not to give up." I believe that if you love someone very much and remember them, then in some way they remain with you. The answer was not loud, but it was very sincere, and not a single person in the room uttered a sound. Even the little ones felt that it was not an empty phrase, but something more. The fairy girl who asked questions about ice cream stared at Keanu with wide eyes, which showed that she was also impressed. The host, who at first wanted to intervene and reduce everything to a joke, suddenly changed her mind. Apparently, she realized that the child and the actor were communicating on some deep level, and it was not worth interrupting them. The boy lowered the microphone, as if he had learned everything he wanted to know. He no longer needed to continue the discussion. A light whisper passed through the room. Someone seemed to be wiping away tears. Someone was looking at the stage, fascinated. Soon the host softly announced that the time for questions was running out, because they still had many points on the program. There was applause, but it was quiet and focused, not as cheerful as before. It seemed that everyone realized that they were witnessing a very personal moment, and that it was happening in front of dozens of people. Keanu, leaving the stage, smiled at the children once more and said that he was glad to be there, and that if they made a cartoon about ghosts or friendship with them, he would be happy to watch it. The audience responded with warm support, and the boy who asked the question disappeared into the crowd, and the organizers soon lost sight of him. Several journalists who were present at this exchange of remarks immediately jumped out of the hall to urgently send notes to their editors. One of them managed to post a short video online, recorded on a phone, where part of Keanu's answer about love and memory that live after death was filmed. And then the most unexpected thing began. While the festival was going on as usual, and Keanu was already leaving the event, the video was flying around social networks at a furious speed. Many subscribers immediately recognized the recognizable soft intonation. For some, it was enough to just see the short, "If you love someone very much and remember them." And people wrote that it moved them to tears. Captions like, "Keanu Reeves talks to a little fan about death and love," or "His answer will make you cry," began to appear. Channels on YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms began to massively re-upload the short fragment, accompanying it with comments about what a wise actor is and how subtly he can feel. And some bloggers immediately recalled the tragedies in Keanu's life and noted that perhaps he understands better than anyone what it means to lose loved ones, but continue to move forward. The internet literally exploded. Even major news portals took up this mini-story. Hundreds of thousands of likes, reposts, comments with words of support and gratitude filled the feed. Many people who had experienced losses wrote that Keanu's words helped them look at the situation differently. They felt that they were not alone in their pain, and that even the most famous actor in the world can experience the same experiences and find light in them. It became clear that the line, "In a sense, they remain with us," hit the heart of viewers eager to hear that death is not a final barrier, but a continuation of the connection through memory. Of course, there were skeptics who said that this was blown up into a sob story, but their voices were drowned out by a wave of positive responses. Meanwhile, Keanu himself only learned about the viral effect the next day, when his manager sent him a selection of links. As people close to him said, he treated it with a kind smile in the spirit of "I just answered a child's question." However, he himself was surprised at how widely his words had spread. He had often been credited with various kinds of wise quotes, sometimes made up by fans, but this time it was a real recording, made in front of witnesses. Everything happened in front of people, so there could be no distortion. These were the words Keanu used to express his thoughts. Journalists vied with each other to get additional commentary or a more detailed explanation, but the actor, as usual, remained laconic. "You know, sometimes you just have to be honest in the moment, and the child will feel it. What else is there to talk about?" The Family Film Festival, which no one expected to make headlines, suddenly received a huge amount of media attention. The organizers were happy that such popularity had fallen on their event, because now it had become known far beyond the local film circles. But they also understood that the real reason for the hype was Keanu's touching dialogue with the child and his frank answer. People working on the festival later recalled that they found out almost nothing about the boy who asked the question. It seems his name was Oliver, and he came with one of the adults. And then someone saw him standing in the hallway and crying, clutching a small toy figurine in his hands, probably the same one that he was going to show Reeves. But the actor had already left by that time, caught up in other matters. It was unclear why the boy suddenly touched on the topic of death so acutely. Perhaps he had recently lost someone, but there was no way to clarify the details. But there were videos and memories that literally flew around the world. Newspapers published short articles. Keanu Reeves on ghosts and love. Hollywood stars' heartfelt response stirred the hearts of fans. In popular TV shows, hosts retold the whole story, looking into the camera with the look of "we talk about everything, but here's a real example of sincerity." Social networks were filled with confessions from people who had experienced the loss of loved ones and found comfort in the actor's simple words. Some posted the excerpt to sad music, others made motivational posts. In a word, that short scene from a children's festival turned into a global event where the central theme was, "Don't be afraid to talk to children about serious topics if they care about it, and don't be afraid to talk about love and memory." If Keanu had previously been referred to as the most humble and kind actor, now another quality was added to this. People called him wise, because few expected to hear such a subtle human, but at the same time absolutely accessible answer. In a world where the topic of death is often surrounded by either crude jokes or terrible taboos, Keanu's reaction showed that even with a child you can talk about it carefully, acknowledging the pain but giving hope. The end of this story was put when the actor himself casually confirmed in an interview that he, as a person who has experienced loss, is characterized by such an attitude. I think we keep a piece of those we loved inside us, even if they are gone, and there is something beautiful in that. This short quote immediately made headlines, once again fueling interest in the incident at the children's festival. So the child's question seemed to open a new perspective on Keanu Reeves' personality for millions of people. Not just action or science fiction heroes, not just a good guy helping strangers, but also a person willing to talk about the most delicate, difficult, and profound aspects of life. Many commentators admitted that after watching the video, they thought about having conversations with their own children, not brushing off children's fears, but trying to gently explain that love doesn't disappear when a person is not around. This, apparently, was the main point of that episode, and that is why it went viral and inspired thousands of hearts. Over time, the hype died down, as it often does, but a strong residue remained. When people recall the episode where Keanu receives a strange question from a child, they say, "He answered so sincerely and humanely that the internet literally exploded." And this is not a metaphor, because the avalanche of views, reposts, and comments was unprecedented even for the actor, who has long been accustomed to media attention. Perhaps this case proves that real and genuine communication often touches people much more than any well-thought-out advertising campaign. A free meeting, where no one set the task of getting emotional, gave a result that exceeded all expectations. Keanu, as usual, remained true to himself. He did not try to inflate this story, did not use it for PR or integrate it into an interview, answering that he said everything that was on his mind at that moment, and if it helped someone look deep into their feelings, then it was not in vain. People, especially fans, like to cite that scene with the boy as one of the confirmations that even a simple phrase can change someone's views on life and death. Perhaps the boy who so boldly asked his question also received an important answer. Sometimes we do not need clear scientific explanations. It is enough to understand that love is stronger than separation. This is how this unexpected story ended, in which a small question turned into a big dialogue with millions of viewers around the world. And if it touched you, if you believe that even the most delicate and difficult topic can be discussed honestly and with compassion, support this story with a like. Subscribe to the channel where we continue to share such inspiring stories, and be sure to write your opinion in the comments. How do you feel about talking about death with children? And is that spark of kindness that each of us is able to give to another, even with a short phrase or a simple gesture, important? Your thoughts, your examples, and your participation in the discussion help other people feel that the world, despite the difficulties, is full of light and mutual understanding. Thank you for reading this story to the end. Remember, sometimes one sincere answer can light the way for many at once.